Stephanie White, grab a notebook and pay close attention, because a coaching masterclass is unfolding right in front of the entire WNBA. And the teacher? None other than Cheryl Reeve, the legendary head coach of the Minnesota Lynx. Today's lesson is simple but powerful: how to lead, protect, and elevate a fiery young superstar point guard who plays the game with raw passion and emotion. Welcome back to WNBA Pro. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest WNBA drama, news, and breakdowns. We appreciate every single one of you for supporting the channel. Now today, we need to talk about one of the biggest contrasts happening in the WNBA right now. And let's be honest from the start, a lot of fans still have issues with Cheryl Reeve. Nobody has forgotten the controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark being left off Team USA. Many fans believed that decision was completely outrageous. But regardless of the criticism, one thing cannot be denied: Cheryl Reeve knows how to coach elite talent. And right now, she is putting on a clinic for the entire Indiana Fever coaching staff to watch. Reeve is showing exactly how you manage a passionate young point guard without tearing down their confidence, without suppressing their personality, and without acting afraid to support them publicly after games. Meanwhile, Indiana Fever fans are growing more frustrated by the week. Because every time Caitlin Clark shows emotion on the court, whether it's competitiveness, frustration, or pure fire, the sidelines instantly become tense and chaotic.
You know, you got Indiana Fever assistants yelling at her on the sideline. You got them running on the floor to grab her up like the Undertaker. All of this unnecessary stuff. Pay attention to this. We don't need this. We don't need y'all doing this.
Look at this. You have Indiana Fever assistants literally yelling at her. You have staff members rushing onto the hardwood to pull her back like it's some kind of WWE moment. Completely unnecessary. It is a massive overreaction to a player who simply cares about winning and refuses to back down. Now pay very close attention to the other side of the story. Watch how a championship-level coach handles that exact same competitive fire. Take a look at Minnesota's explosive young guard Olivia Miles and legendary head coach Cheryl Reeve. A foul gets called, and Olivia Miles instantly reacts with pure emotion. She's jumping up and down, passionately arguing the whistle. That wasn't a foul. Review it. Let's go. She's fired up, frustrated, and fully invested in the moment because she wants to compete at the highest level. Olivia Miles is emotional. She's intense. She's letting the referees know exactly how she feels. But what does Cheryl Reeve do in response? Does she send assistants charging onto the floor to restrain her own player? Does she scream at her to calm down and suppress her passion? Absolutely not. Instead, Cheryl Reeve understands the difference between losing control and showing competitive fire. She recognizes that elite players play with emotion. Great coaches don't crush that energy, they channel it. They trust their stars to compete, to care, and to fight for every possession.
So a foul was called, and you see Olivia Miles jumping up and down, showing the emotion. Hey, that wasn't a foul. Review that. Let's go, let's go. I'm not going for it. I'm mad.
You see the difference? Cheryl Reeve never tried to police her players' emotions. She never tried to strip the passion, intensity, and competitive spirit out of her young stars' game. Instead, she allowed Olivia Miles to come to the sideline, settle into the moment, and talk it through like a coach who truly understands elite competitors. That is how it is supposed to be handled. You stand behind your players. You let them feel the emotion of the game. You allow them to compete with fire and confidence without treating them like they have done something wrong for caring too much. What you do not do is send a group of assistants rushing onto the floor to grab your own superstar and physically pull her away like she is out of control. But unfortunately, that is exactly the kind of reaction Stephanie White seems to prefer any time Caitlin Clark shows even the slightest bit of competitive emotion. There is a clear difference between coaching passion and trying to suppress it. Championship coaches know how to channel emotion. They do not try to erase it.
She is so competitive. She is so passionate. She's talking.
All right, you see that? You see that? You see how she didn't try to police her emotions and just take her heart and emotion out of the game? You see how she had let her come to the sideline? Hey, let's talk about it. You know, this is how you're supposed to handle things, not sending your assistants over there to grab her up, pick her up off of her feet, and all of this stuff. Pay attention, Stephanie White.
We all remember that moment. Caitlin Clark is out there hyping up the crowd, bringing energy into the arena, feeding off the atmosphere like every elite superstar does. And instead of embracing it, the coaching staff reacts like, "What are you doing?" That is not how you handle a franchise superstar. Nobody needs the coaching staff trying to police Caitlin Clark's emotions because her passion is the exact thing that makes her dangerous. That fire, that swagger, that competitive intensity, it is what allows her to completely break down opposing defenses and take over games. Her emotion is not a weakness. It is her superpower. Trying to take that away is like removing the engine from a sports car and then wondering why it cannot perform at the highest level anymore. It is completely unnecessary. Stephanie White needs to study what Cheryl Reeve is doing because that is how you manage elite talent. Cheryl understands how to empower her players instead of controlling every emotional reaction they have on the court. And the reality is, the point guard she is coaching is not even close to the level of superstar talent that Stephanie White has the privilege of coaching right now with Caitlin Clark. But this conversation goes beyond sideline reactions and emotional management. It carries directly into the press conferences, the strategy sessions, and the actual X's and O's of basketball. Because now we need to talk about the pick-and-roll game.
Hyping up the crowd. Okay? You know, we remember the situation where she's hyping up the crowd. You go, look at this. What are you doing? That's not how you handle it. We don't need you policing Caitlin Clark's emotions. Her emotions is a part of why she goes off and destroys a lot of these players. We don't need this. We don't need y'all doing this.
Whoa. Stop the tape right there. Cheryl Reeve, a multiple-time WNBA champion, is openly explaining that the pick-and-roll game is one of the foundational pillars of professional basketball. Meanwhile, over in Indiana, Stephanie White appears determined to move away from it completely. And that is what makes this so confusing. The Indiana Fever arguably have the most dangerous pick-and-roll duo in the entire league. Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston create one of the most unstoppable two-player actions we have seen in years. The moment they run that set, defenses instantly start collapsing, help defenders panic, shooters get left wide open, and the entire floor changes. That is when the offense becomes explosive. But instead of fully leaning into that weapon, Stephanie White shifted toward a hub-style motion offense and minimized the very action that made Indiana so dangerous in the first place. It feels like taking your most powerful offensive weapon and locking it away. And now Cheryl Reeve is publicly reinforcing what basketball fans everywhere already understand. The pick-and-roll is not outdated. It is essential. At the highest level of basketball, it remains one of the most effective and reliable actions in the sport. Whether intentional or not, it shines a spotlight on what many believe is the biggest flaw in Indiana's current offensive approach. But the contrast between these coaches becomes even more obvious once the games end and the microphones come out. Because the post-game interviews tell you everything. Watch what happens when the media asks Cheryl Reeve a direct question about her young point guard.